Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Sobriety Engine speaker meeting. Tonight is Saturday, January 16th, 2021. Tonight's speaker is Desiree, the other half of the Chula Vista power couple. I know that Craig gave an exceptional share about a month ago, and so I am looking forward to hearing Desiree share. She is a woman who strikes me with a lot of love and always gives me wise words as strong as Craig's. I always ask our members for 2 words to describe their journey in recovery, and Desiree said honest growth describes her journey. So I found this quote and I feel like it is fitting. The only way that we can live is if we grow. The only way that we can grow is if we change. The only way that we can change is if we learn. The only way we can learn is if we are exposed. And the only way that we can become exposed is if we throw ourselves out into the open. Do it. Throw yourself. And
we were just like, oh my God, it's mom. And she was crying, saying how sorry she was, and she wanted to come back home. And, I just wanted her to come home. It's my mom, you don't think about grown-ups not getting along at that time. You don't think about it. You just want it to be normal again, as normal as it can be. But anyway, I just remember them. She stayed for a few days. And they had a big old fight, and then she went to go leave, and she was going to take me with her. And I wanted to go because I missed my mom. So I packed up my little suitcase and I put it in her station wagon, and I was going to go with her. And I just remember my dad coming out there and pounding his fist on the hood of the station wagon saying, damn it, if you leave, she stays. I was so sad to see my mom go at that time. Didn't understand why they couldn't just get along, why they had to keep fighting. But I stayed, and that was the last I saw of my mother. So we moved to California. My stepmom was with us. It kind of started my whole life of wanting to be a normal family, and I didn't feel like we were. So my sister was like a tomboy, and I used to lie to my schoolmates and tell them I had this really pretty sister. My sister was, not that she was ugly, but she was very tomboyish, and I actually drew a picture of what my sister, I thought my sister looked like, and told my friends, see, this is what my sister looks like. And I didn't even want to admit I lived in a trailer at the time, because right when we moved from New Mexico, we lived in a trailer park briefly until we got to a house. I remember walking home from school and purposely walking around the trailer park to these like other tract homes and saying I lived over there. If somebody saw me, I would walk out of my way to pretend I lived over there, not in the trailer park. So after all that, I can see the whole pattern of not feeling good enough for my friends who I thought had the mom and dad and everybody seemed happy in their homes. But also the stepmother who turned abusive and didn't like us and wanted us out of the house and used to lock the trailer door. And then when we moved to house, she'd lock the house door and blare her music. And we'd be sitting outside waiting to come into the house until she felt like letting us in before my dad came home from work. So there was all this this feeling like that we weren't good enough, and why would my dad be dating this woman anyway who didn't seem to like us. So I'll say when I started junior high, that's when I started partying with my friends. I didn't have a lot of friends, but the few friends that I did have, they drank. And I remember having these feelings about it when I first started drinking, and how horrible it tasted. Most of the time, when we would drink as minors like we did, it was whatever their parents had in their house, which was mostly beer. And oh my God, I hated it. But I found out I liked the feeling of being drunk. I liked not feeling like myself, like I was somebody else, like everything was okay, and I could fit in and feel comfortable. And I found out that when I drank, I almost always had to drink to get drunk. You know, that was it. I was drinking for the effect, definitely not for the taste at that time. I remember holding my nose to frickin' drink. And after I got over the first few, then I would be okay. But yeah, I was drinking in junior high. I started cutting school. When my dad was away on a job, and sometimes he would leave town for months, and we would have Kathy, my stepmother, taking care of us. And one day, I knew that from me running, or for me not showing up at school, that school wound up calling the house. And I remember coming home and hearing my stepmother on the phone. She was just the girlfriend at the time before they got married, but she was on the phone saying, "What? She hasn't been at school all week?" And I knew then I didn't want to come into that house. I was afraid of her. So I ran away to my girlfriend's house, who was probably, I want to say, she was like halfway across town, but I got on my bike and I rode there. And I didn't come home until my dad came back from home. I remember I was gonna go try to get some clothes out of my room, and I looked in the front window. That's where my bedroom was. And my posters were torn off the wall. My bed was flipped over. I knew she went in there and had a freaking fit or something. So I was not gonna go back into the house. I stayed with my girlfriend and her family, told them all how terrible Kathy was. And they were just like, "No, honey, you don't have to go back home." And they let me stay there. I like I said, I stayed there until my dad came back home from his job. I didn't even know that they knew where I was until one day my dad pulls up with Kathy in his truck, knocked on the door where I was at, and said, "Hey, come on. Do you want to stay here or do you want to come back home?" And I don't know. I seriously considered staying with my girlfriend. I was scared to go back home at this point. Who knows what she was going to do? Who knows? So, but I went back home. And anyway, my drinking continued through high school. That's where I met my first husband. I was in high school. We were dating at the time, and yes, I would not date anybody who didn't drink. He was older than me. He could get liquor. So it was a perfect relationship. He kind of like filled in the father figure, you know, kind of helped take care of me. And you know what? At that time, I felt it was a lot better than being home. So I preferred I preferred to stay out, not coming home much, only when I had to, like later in the, well, early evening before dinner, not after school. So there was like a lot of time that I spent partying and going out and just not being myself, but feeling comfortable, feeling like that I didn't have to go back into that place that made me uncomfortable. So in a way, I was running from not feeling good enough to a relationship that was based on somebody trying to take care of me, right? And then also partying with me. So to me, I could look back at that and go, no, it was not a recipe for a good relationship to grow. That being said, so I remember when I would drink with my ex, he was quite the drinker like me. But he had a steady job, so we paid our bills. He was in the military, so I thought, you know what, this is great. I can go away with him and not ever have to go back to that place and deal with Kathy anymore. I remember that's when we ran away together. We eloped to Las Vegas to get married. He was saying he was moving to Guam he was in the Navy. He was being stationed to Guam. And I said, well, can I go? And he goes, the only way you can go is if we get married. And I said, well, let's do that. So we got married, moved to Guam, and I didn't know a freaking person in Guam at all. So, and Guam, I will tell you, Guam turned out to be party city. There was a lot of people that would let you into their home. They didn't even have to know you, and there'd be parties all the time. But Guam is a tiny island, and I felt isolated out there. Even though I didn't have a lot of friends back in California, and I didn't have, nobody I knew wanted to come to Guam. So I kind of felt sorry for myself being out there. Like 18-year-old getting married and then there's nobody. So anyway, the drinking and the partying continued. There was some times where it was pointed out to me that I was having problems controlling my drinking. So after a few years, I did try to go to AA, mostly because I was being told I needed to get some help. I felt it was totally unfair. I was being picked on because, hey, my ex drank. So what was the problem with me? The problem with me is I would get sad, depressed, sad that I was on this little tiny island and nobody's visiting me. And he's going away too on jobs. And so I was left alone. So anyway, I remember going into AA and looking all the freaking old people and going, there's no way I belong here. Maybe years down the road, I would listen to their stories and I didn't really put myself in those positions of their stories. I would listen and like they say, listen for the similarities, not the differences. Well, I listened to the differences and not the similarities. So what I learned from that was that I needed to control my drinking better. That, maybe that's the problem, because I could not imagine my life without alcohol. So anyway, after quitting AA for, I think I was there maybe about 7 or 8 months, and then thinking I got this. You know, I can do this now. And, you know, my ex just telling me, just keep it cool. Just have a few. Because, you know, when you have too many, that's when things get bad for you. So it made sense to me, but I could never do it. And I didn't know why. And that led to some more depression of like, what the hell's wrong with me? I can't even drink. You know, other people I know were drinking and they seem to have everything together. I had jobs and went to jobs, but whenever there was a party or weekends or something, I could not tell you what was going to happen. And looking back, I know that is a big red flag and an issue. But I was too freaking terrified to think that I could never drink again. To me, there was still some reward attached to it, some sort of comfort, even though it was peppered with a lot of anxiety and depression. So, let's see. We moved from Guam to Hawaii, back to California, bought our house out in East County in San Diego. Drinking was still happening. I remember having to try to piece things together then of what went on the day before, the night before. I'd have big blackout chunks that were happening to me. I really thought that maybe that was just part of drinking. Because, you know, I really didn't talk to anybody else about that. I thought, well, maybe this is common. This is something that just goes on. Not that it was something that was bad and pointed to progressive alcoholism. So anyway, I'll kind of fast forward a little bit. I was working at a department store and I was in one of my binges. I started doing binges where I would drink for months and I would have it everywhere, all over the house, even in the bushes outside, trunk of my car. I'd go to work. Sometimes when I was in these binges that would last for months, I would be buying liquor in the morning where I would wait outside the store to where it would open. I'd go to different stores, so maybe they didn't know me. I started getting those little tiny plastic bottles of wine because they didn't make noise when you had a whole bunch of them together in a bag somewhere in the house. I had them stuffed under the mattress. And then the whole work of trying to remember where all those little freaking bottles were and trying to get rid of them so they wouldn't be in our trash can, so I wouldn't be found out. I do remember coming home some nights from work trying to be sober enough. I'd even stop at the store, buy myself some of those freaking adrenaline drinks and drink a few of those, so hopefully they'd pep me up enough to where I wouldn't appear drunk, to where I would appear normal, because I knew that he usually drank when he came home. So I would try to avoid any interaction with him to where I knew he had a few in him, and then he probably wouldn't call me out. I do remember him looking at me in the eyes, him coming up to me and going, look at me, look at me. And he'd get right in my face, you're drinking again. And I remember saying no, and you know, I would lie till the freaking cows came home. I started even drinking his supply outside. In his man cave in the garage, he had his freezer out there and he had his big bottles of Captain Morgan's. This stuff with the jug handle, you know, the big one. And I would go out there and drink from that bottle that he kept in the freezer and try to measure it. And then I remember if there was too much gone, I would have to try to freaking replace it for the next day. So I'd have to go get another freaking big bottle and then take some out of it. And then I knew if I drank too much out of it, I'd be too drunk right then. So I'd have to put it in some of my little bottles that I was saving so I could have it for later to keep my buzz going. But then, so he wouldn't notice. So much freaking work trying to keep this freaking charade up. Part of my biggest problem later, I would say mid to later part of my marriage was I knew that I was not the same 18-year-old girl that got married to him, and we aren't the same as when we grow up. I knew that I didn't love him anymore. And that was the saddest thing for me to come to terms with and try to talk to him and tell him that, hey, we're having problems. We can't get along. You know, I remember him telling me, if we can't solve our problems, I'm not going to have a freaking stranger take care of it for us. If you're unhappy, get the fuck out. And good luck. He started talking to me kind of like Kathy talked to me. You're good for nothing. I don't even want to see you. Get out of my face. It turned like that. And that was part of my trap. My fear of moving on. I didn't know what the hell was going to happen to me. And I was told that good things were not going to happen to me if I left. And that he even told me, he said, you know, you were nothing when I married you, and you'll be nothing when you leave. I will say that a intelligent person, I consider myself an intelligent person, would logically say that's freaking bullshit. But you know what? When you're in it and you're trapped in it and you don't see anywhere to go and you're afraid, things like that happen. And especially if you have a background of that happening in your home. So, I remember when I was in one of my binges, we were driving out to Arizona to go see his family that lived out there. I was starting to have those binges where if I didn't keep my buzz going, I was in the shakes. I shook so bad, I could hardly talk. I had to have my alcohol lubricant in me just so I, in my mind, could appear normal. And what a freaking thing that was to try to manage, especially on a road trip. And the only alcohol is his big jug in our cooler. So I waited till we stopped and got gas and chugged some out of his freaking thing, just so, and then put some chewing gum in my mouth so the shakes would stop. We're driving to Arizona and I had a freaking seizure in the truck. I remember it coming on and I didn't know what the hell was happening to me. All of a sudden, I could not talk. I just went, oh, and then my hearing went. I could not hear. Saw him in the corner of my eye looking at me. And then I wake up. The next thing I know, we're driving. And he's asking me questions. What day of the week is it? Where are we going? And I didn't know why he was asking me this. He says, you just had a freaking seizure. I had to pull over. I had to put my fingers in your mouth so you stop biting your tongue. Oh my God. And then I'm going, I didn't know about alcoholic withdrawal seizures. I didn't know about those then. I thought, what the hell is wrong with me now? He's, you know, after all that, I went to the doctors because of my seizure. I lost my driver's license for 6 months. Well, they had to do all these little electrodes all over my head to find out what was wrong with me. And then I started reading about alcohol withdrawal. And I was like, oh my God, that's what happened to me. So when I got my driver's license back, at my new job, or I was working at the department store, the really sad part of it is I started drinking again after all that. And then I knew in my educated mind, well, now I have to keep this up because they said you'll probably get another one if it's happened before. So I was in this, like, I felt trapped. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything with myself. I had to keep this buzz or whatever, the alcohol in me going, so to stop the shakes, so I wouldn't have another seizure again, because that scared the crap out of me. Not enough to stop drinking though. Crazy shit. But anyway, so when I finally got sober, I will say it was my ex had to come pick me up at work. They noticed something was wrong with me. So I had to go into the office at work. I felt like a kid at the principal's office. They go, we're going to call somebody to come pick you up. And I was just like, no, there's nobody that can come pick me up. I knew for a fact if my ex came, got me right then, he'd know what was up with me. I couldn't even remember anybody's freaking phone numbers. I remember them taking my cell phone and looking through it and calling him. And there he was, he picked me up and he goes, good job. You did it to yourself. Anyway, when after all that, and he put a motion sensor in the doorway of our bedroom because he was afraid I was going to run away. So it would beep every time I'd walk in or out of that room. And I was in that state where I was pacing. I felt so freaking bad that I needed to drink. And I told him, I said, you don't understand. If I don't drink, I'll freaking die. I just knew it. And he just like, no, you're just gonna feel really bad for a while. And I got out of that room. I don't remember exactly how. I just started walking up the street. I didn't know where I was gonna go. I thought, well, I'll just live in the fucking bushes and drink then. You know, I didn't care. I started walking up the street and I didn't have enough physical strength to walk half a block. I had to turn around and go back to the house. And there's our dog out in the front yard barking at me. And there's my ex notified by the dog that she got out. And he's like, what are you doing? I fell on the freaking pavement there. And the neighbor's son stepped over me to go to his house. And my ex had to walk up, pick me up off the sidewalk, bring me into the house. And he goes, you need help. I can't do it. I got to go to work. I can't watch you. So anyway, when I started going to AA, believe it or not, I was afraid of my neighbors seeing me there. My God, but they'd already seen the best of me laying on their sidewalk out there, you know? Looking back at it, I know now, but I knew the jig was up. I had to get sober. I had to get freaking honest with myself. I had to get my feelings out and not be afraid anymore. So that's what I did. When I walked into AA, I was freaking beat up to hell. And thank God there were some people there that cared and had experienced the feelings that I was feeling and knew that change is scary. Growth is scary. But you know what? I was at that, like they say, that jumping off point. I needed freaking help or I was going to die. I was going to do that to myself, and how sad that is. So when I finally got sober, at that point, I just wanted to feel better. I remember pacing from waiting for the next meeting to start. I don't recommend anybody get sober at home. If you're in that state, I don't recommend it. Anyway, I got the courage to be true to myself and to just say what was going on inside me and what I felt and what I wanted to do. And it involved a divorce. I didn't know what the hell was going to be around the corner. I just knew I had to be true to myself. And I had to not feel like I had to be somebody else to be loved. I could be me. And you know what? Love found me in the room. I gotta say, you know what? You never know what's around a corner. But if you're brave enough and you want it bad enough and you're freaking desperate enough and you don't want to freaking kill yourself, it can be done. It's hard, you know, but heck, you know what? Living sober is so much better than I ever thought it ever could be. And you know what? We have a sober household. Thank God I have somebody that has similarities in their life too, that we can relate. You know, I mean, there's a few other things that I could have put in there, but I'm already noticing it's almost 6:50 here. I have talked quite a bit, but it's a big story, guys. And I am so glad to be able to share some of this with you, because you know what? Sharing helps me. It helps me grow. It reminds me, lest I forget, of the freaking chaos that can happen in my life if I allow it to. And if I don't want to grow, I'm inviting that back in. And if I don't want to be honest, I'm definitely inviting that in. So I love all you guys. Love this format. I have shared before, so this feels good to share again. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Desiree. I'm going to give you a big round of applause for that. That was such a spectacular share. So much bravery was in that. I mean, when you were talking about the shooters and like taking sips and buying stuff, I was like, holy shit, she's telling my story. I've totally been there, like going around and hiding little shooter bottles all over the place, and then coming home and my ex is like, what is this? I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't know. Not me. But it was, and there, there's one of the things you said in the beginning was like, don't talk about it, just live, just like let it be, and there are so many people who've shared who said that similarly, like growing up as in a household, things just didn't get talked about. They're just kind of swept underneath the rug. And I think, Dennis and Gail have great ways of saying it. Gail said, I filed it away, and Dennis said, I put that stone in my pocket. And it just puts on, it adds weight to our life that we don't need. And that and you said I was becoming at an early age, you learn how to be dishonest with alcohol, covering up for your dad and saying that you would never drink, and then you went around and found your own story. And I'm so grateful for what you shared. I relate so much to your story in so many levels. Beautiful share, and thank you again for offering that with us. Would anybody like to offer feedback or anything for Desiree tonight? Geraldine?
Hi, friends. Geraldine Alcoholic. Thank you, Desiree. That was so good. And you are enough. You you said at the beginning how we all have the same story, but it's just not, exactly. I mean, when you were talking about your childhood to everything, I mean, I get it, but girl, you with the bottles and putting it in, I thought I was bad putting it in shampoo bottles so I could drink in the shower. I mean, we are nuts, but you know what? We're very creative. We're very smart and intelligent people. I mean, know that, because I was the kid walking around. I was going to amount to nothing. You're a piece of shit. That all came from my father, who told me he loved me, but he would talk to me like that. But I know today I'm not a piece of shit, and I'm lovable by you guys. And Desiree, I miss you. Your growth is, I mean, we've known each other now for like almost 10 months. I mean, everything has changed. I just love you, and thank you for being so open and honest. Thank you so much.
Thank you for those words, and I agree. We are definitely not dumb people by any means. I can speak for myself how much effort I put into hiding my addiction, to being involved into the addiction. By no means a dumbass. I was just drunk, and I was a pretty smart addict. I'm much more smart now with those substances gone. But also, putting alcohol in a shampoo bottle, that's a nifty trick. Don't do it, people.
You know what, guys? I just got to say real quick, part of the really the lengths that you'll go to sometimes to do things. I drank freaking Listerine. I drank vanilla just so I could maintain myself, because there was nothing else to drink in the house. I couldn't go anywhere because I'd get questioned. So the things that sometimes people say, my God, I'd never do that. Sometimes the alcoholic, the bar gets lowered and lowered and lowered until you're on the fucking ground.
Yes, the bar will continue to lower for sure. Dennis, buddy, what would you like to share with us?
Yeah, Dennis Alcoholic. Thanks for your share, Desiree. You know what you did? Me listening to you, you kind of like opened up a closet of my past. I never really looked at it from a child's point of view, but when you were talking about your mom and your dad and separating and being drug around with your stepmom, I would kind of probably be embarrassed to hear my daughters share. My daughter's not an alcoholic or a drug addict, but just the damage that a person can cause in a child's life. Obviously, you thought about it, and you still have that in your thoughts, you know. And I'd like to thank you for making me aware of it. I'm going to probably look at my daughter a little different, and maybe next time I spend some time with her, I'll speak to her a little bit about my behavior of being a shitty father. I don't know what your parents are like today or your relationship with them, but I'm kind of touching base with my own self because I'm going to go face my father here shortly, and you know, we got a bad past, and he's proud of me being sober this long right now, and I'm still going to meetings, but you know, I remember some of the shit he did to my mom, and you know what? I still carry that rock around my pocket, and I always swore I'd never go to his funeral, and now I'm almost being faced with it, and you know, I have forgiven him, and he has forgiven me. I would think so, because he's been pretty nice the last 5-10 years, you know. But anyway, thanks for opening up that closet door. You have a good night and a nice weekend.
Thank you, Dennis. I wanted to say also too, about parents. My father got sober before he passed away. My mother probably did not. As I told you, I didn't see her again after she left with her boyfriend. I learned from my dad years later that she and her boyfriend were murdered. And I'm not kidding you, their bones were found from hikers and everything. So it was like a big deal. What I'm telling you guys is there's a lot of junk that can happen in real life, and you can get through it. You don't have to be defined by your past. It can make you stronger. So yes, and I miss my dad all the time. My older sister drank herself to death. So there you go. My younger brother's still alive, and thank God.
Yeah, it's a good point. You know, our pasts do not define us today. It's a big part of our story and who we are and how we learned and how we got here. But what I did in my past does not dictate who I will be in my future. And that is a very important lesson to know. So thank you for reminding us. Billy, what would you like to say?
Billy, alcoholic, grateful to be here. And I'm also grateful that I woke up this morning and I didn't think about drinking. Desiree, thanks for your share. And it's awesome, man, because you guys have a sober home. And that's a blessing to have a sober home, for two people that been down the same road and now they're living a sober life together. That's a blessing. That's the grace of God right there. You know, I want to share a little bit real quick because it was too much from my alcoholic brain. Okay. I wake up this morning, everything is cool. I call my grandkid. He tells me he's going to practice. Both of them are going to practice. So I go with them to the practice. Everything fine, right? Okay. Then we went to his aunt's house and we ate. Everything is cool. So I left. So I'm coming down the highway, and all of a sudden I see in front of me chaos in front of the highway. And I see car parts all over the floor in the highway. And I'm thinking, like, holy shit, something's going on here. So when I try to go through the side, now I can see what's really going on. And my first reaction was, I'm stopping the truck. Uh, what happened here? Somebody's hurt, because the people were looking over the rail of the highway. So I was thinking, so a car went over the rail. Somebody's fucked. So I go over there, and yes, there's a truck with two guys and a pit bull stuck. The truck is upside down. The guy that's on top of the other guy, he's a really big guy. And this guy that's lying down, he's really hurt. He can't move. The pit bull's on top of him. The big guy's on top of him. There's a fucking horse in the accident too. The horse came flying out the cage, out the horse cage, and he's got one side of his leg all fucked up too, but he's eating grass. You know, once we tied him to the post. And then the other thing was, now I see me in a Mitsubishi Mirage. The car was wrecked. I mean, it was wrecked. But the guy that was driving, he's sitting on the rail, and you could smell the alcohol on this guy like from 5 feet away. I mean, he is drunk, drunk, drunk. And what came in my mind, and I said, this guy, if the police is coming, they're gonna see him like this. He's fucked. He is fucked. So now I'm fucking processing everything. A horse, a pit bull, two guys, the drunk guy, you know, and we're trying to help these guys get out that truck because the truck flew over the rail and it's upside down. I mean, it was crazy. And then emergency came in and they started breaking the doors with those cutters and all that shit. So while I'm in there and I'm helping, you know, to get the stretchers out and helping emergency to get the stretchers out from the truck and trying to help the other guy get out, you know, I'm into that. But when I get in my truck and I start driving back home, I fucking got really anxious, man. I got this fucking anxiety attack like out of nowhere. And I had to call my daughter, you know, and told my daughter, be careful when you drive home because she has to pass through there too. I told her I've been in an accident helping people for the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And it was really bad, you know. So yeah, I noticed that it was like too much information, like in my head, you know, once I left the place, you know, and it was really crazy how a flip of a switch, your life can change out of nowhere, you know. So I wanted to share that because I'm still anxious, man.
Oh, thanks for the share, Billy. I mean, yeah, it's so much can be taken from that. You know, life can happen in the blink of an eye, and you know, fortunately for us in this situation, we're not drunk. You know, fortunately for you, you weren't drunk, and you were able to be present in that moment and assist the best that you could. You know, you're able to make yourself of service to others, and that's a good thing. But yeah, certainly. I know that when I experience trauma like that, you know, in the moment, it's a lot of adrenaline, and then step away and start analyzing it. Just a lot of peculiar thoughts come in. So it's good that you reached out to your daughter and kind of came back to earth a little bit. You know, that's those are the important things that we get to hold on to in sobriety, and you get to come here and share it with us. So I hope that you're able to get some good rest and get the anxiety off of your brain. And I'm sure you'll wake up tomorrow and not think about drinking, and you'll be good to go, soldier. Does anybody else have any words that they would like to share with us tonight, or with Desiree, or anything at all? Carrie?
Desiree, I'm so proud of you, and you're amazing. The thoughts and like, yeah, I didn't know about the shampoo thing either, because I could have been doing the same thing. And I wasn't, but I would have if I knew. So I'm so glad that I have met everyone here on this platform, and I'm glad that you shared with us, and I'm sorry that you went through all that. And we have similar stories that go back to our childhoods. And I just have to say on that same thing, I think we're both good, really great people. So what made us who we are those people. So I'm sorry that, like, you didn't love your stepmother, but she was still a platform in your life and exposed you to different things. And I feel like that is for me too. Like, there's people that I didn't like, but they still made me who I am. So thank you, and I love you.
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. And yeah, there's people come into our life, whether we want them to or not, and they will impact us, good or bad. A lot of the times our life is out of our control, I'm learning. Seldom do we have control other than our thoughts and our breath. But it's, it all becomes a part of our story. And when we get to share it here, it just helps a lot of people, like Desiree said, when she's sharing, she's offering service, not only is it internally healing for her, but she just delivered a hell of a message to me and to a lot of you guys too. So yeah, these are great meetings, and everything happens for a reason, for sure. Anybody else have any thoughts they'd like to share tonight? Craig.
Hi, my name is Craig. I'm an alcoholic from Chula Vista, California, and I just wanted to say in front of everybody just how proud I am of my wife. I tell everybody that shares how much courage it takes to get up here and tell your story to everybody. And I am just so proud to be your husband and just so very proud of you, and just you're the best. I keep saying you're my soulmate. You're my soulmate. So, I just wanted to get that out there.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I am happy that I get to witness your guys' pure love. And you guys are just a great, great bunch of people. So with that being said, Craig and Desiree, do you guys want to take us out tonight?
Okay, guys. Thank you again for showing up. Love talking with all you guys, and I look forward to hearing other stories too. So with that being said, moment of silence for the still sick and suffering in this room and out of this room. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Keep coming back. It works when you work it.
Good share.
Thank you, Desiree. You rock.
Everyone.
My idol.
Thanks, Desiree.
Have a good
Love
one.
you all.
Love you all.
Have a good night, everyone.